And in particular, those types of allegations, SA allegations, sexual assault, and anytime you involve a child, let me tell you right now, that doesn't play well for anyone politically in jail. So it's got nothing to do with their ability to defend themselves or this or that. It's got to do with the fact that they put a target on their back for them to get stabbed, jumped, murdered, whatever it is in jail, because that is how jail politics and that is how jail gangs and how the jail economy works.
See how deep the brainwashing goes? There's more people happy about Andrew Tate being arrested than not a single person on the Epstein files being arrested. Look how hard they're going after this guy, and they're not putting even an ounce of energy to anyone on the Epstein files. Do you not see how fucked up that is, bro? When there's physical proof of them being pedophiles, sacrificing babies, and eating baby organs. And the other side is all accusations. No matter what you believe about the guy.
Andrew Tate's legal situation just crossed into territory that's genuinely different from anything he's faced before. And the warning isn't coming from online commentators or rival influencers. It's coming from his own attorney. His lawyer is now on record saying that Tate's physical safety inside that facility is at serious risk, specifically because of the nature of the charges attached to his name, and the people locked up alongside him already know exactly what those charges are. That's not a throwaway statement. When the person whose literal job it is to protect you starts raising red flags about your safety inside the walls, that tells you everything about how bad the situation actually is.
Time somebody walks by their cell, they get called something, a word that starts with a P that's more appropriate to Epstein and not appropriate to them. There's a pecking order in jail. It's very real. And when you come in with those allegations, there's no excuses. It's your paperwork says this, therefore you're up for murder. You're fair game. You're fair game. And every time the public says Andrew and Tristan are just like Epstein, well, guess what? The public is green-lighting for them to get murdered in jail.
Prison has its own internal code, its own hierarchy. And that hierarchy shifts fast the moment allegations involving minors enter the picture. Every person in that building understands where someone sits on that ladder, and they act accordingly. So let's break down exactly what his lawyer said, what the next 2 weeks look like on paper, and why this specific window of time could permanently change both brothers in ways that go far beyond a courtroom verdict.
We have often said that the process is the punishment. American citizens, in order for your freedom to be deprived, you have to be convicted in a court of law. There are certain exceptions. The extradition proceedings is one of them. So the enemies of Andrew and Tristan Tate know this, and they are doing what they have always done, and they are weaponizing the court process and weaponizing the tension against them in order to get them to break.
This isn't just about legal outcomes anymore. This is about what happens to two people psychologically when the world they built gets completely stripped away. Once accusations involving images of children get tied to someone's name inside a facility like that, solitary confinement stops being a punishment and starts being the only real option for keeping that person alive. That sounds dramatic, but it's just how those environments function. The charges don't need a conviction to carry weight behind bars. The accusation alone is enough to put a target on someone's back from day one. Both brothers are locked up for at least the next 2 weeks, with no hearing scheduled before that window closes. And that 14-day number is the optimistic version of the timeline. Anyone who's watched how these proceedings actually move knows that 2 weeks almost always becomes something longer once lawyers, paperwork, and court schedules start stacking up against each other. A federal judge in Miami has officially set August 13th as the date when the court will rule on whether both men stay in custody or walk free while extradition proceedings play out. That one ruling carries an enormous amount of weight. Whatever the judge decides that day basically determines what the next full year of their lives looks like, and neither outcome is particularly clean. With everything now attached to their names, the pressure inside that facility only builds over time.
Mr. Keir Starmer, I heard you're in a little bit of trouble. I've got bad news for you because you're in a whole bunch more. I'm here in America and I've just been handed a document which proves that Morgan McSweeney, who was your chief of staff under the Labour government, was behind the entire attack that happened against me. It breaks international law. It completely breaks the presumption of innocence. It shows the corruption of the British state. It shows that you were afraid that I was inspiring bravery in young men, and when young men are brave, they will prevent the Labour government from enslaving the entire UK population.
Their legal team has every reason to slow this process down as much as possible, but delay cuts both ways. More time fighting the case also means more time sitting in that building with people who already know why they're there. If that August hearing comes back as a denial, both brothers stay behind bars indefinitely while the extradition process runs its full course. And that process, realistically, could add another year on top of everything already served. Let that sink in for a second. Nobody comes out of 12 months in solitary confinement the same person they went in as. That's not opinion. That's just what prolonged isolation does to the human brain. It doesn't matter who you are, what your background is, or how mentally tough you think you are. Extended time in a concrete room with no human contact breaks something in a person that doesn't fully come back. Now apply that specifically to two people who built their entire public identity around the complete opposite of that experience.
People could say I'm up here and I am pontificating about what ifs and maybes, or I'm exaggerating, or I'm being hyperbolic. I am not. If one of them gets stabbed or beaten half to death tomorrow, it will be because this is the way it went down, and it's wrong.
Luxury, freedom, movement, constant stimulation, access to anything they wanted at any moment. Andrew Tate's whole brand was control. Control over his environment, his finances, his image, his lifestyle. Tristan built his reputation around the same energy. Take all of that away and replace it with four walls, silence, and a daily routine dictated entirely by someone else, and something at the core of who they are gets fundamentally altered. Whether you believe Andrew Tate belongs behind bars permanently, or you're convinced this entire situation is a coordinated effort to remove a high-profile voice that certain people find inconvenient, the place most people land when they're being honest is actually the same one.
That is why you have insulted me every single day in the mainstream news. That is why you told the Romanians to lock me up even though I never did anything wrong. That is why members of parliament to this day slander me every single day, because the primary objective is to attach heinous allegations to my name to the point where people are afraid to use my influence. They know I'm influential. I'm the most influential. So they want everybody afraid to associate with me because of the heinous allegations attached to my name.
Nobody wants to see another situation like Epstein's play out, where someone rots in a cell for years and a trial date never seems to materialize. That kind of outcome helps nobody, not the people who support Tate, not the people who despise him, and certainly not any alleged victims who deserve an actual resolution instead of an endless legal limbo. Justice delayed isn't justice at all, and right now, that's exactly what this looks like. Here's the thing though. From everything covered on this channel, could Andrew Tate genuinely be guilty of serious crimes and deserve real consequences? Without any hesitation, yes. There's a mountain of material out there, and this channel has broken down a significant portion of it across multiple videos. The allegations are serious, they're documented, and they shouldn't be brushed aside because someone finds his content entertaining or thinks he makes good points about masculinity.
Because if they just arrested him out of nowhere, people would be like, hey, not Diddy, I like his songs. No, they want everyone to believe you're guilty before you're even found guilty. So they had to release the video to set him up.
Can you explain that more? The gradual disclosure thing?
Absolutely. So the media is specific. It's almost like the media makes things come true. It doesn't report what happened and what's true. It makes things come true.
But here's where it gets complicated. Is there also a political dimension to the way this whole situation has been handled? That's also a yes. It's hard to argue otherwise when you start following the money and paying attention to who's been openly hostile toward his platform from the very beginning.
So let's look at my example, for example, and I think this explains it. If I wasn't there, the video wouldn't have gone viral. Why? Because they're trying to lock me up for being a hateful person. So they have to take anything they can get and push to the public constantly and endlessly, not because I am hateful, but to convince them I'm hateful so they can lock me up for being hateful. That's what the media does. It shapes narrative.
Both things can be true at the same time, and pretending otherwise means you're only looking at half the story. When roughly $20 million gets funneled into a single initiative specifically designed to counter one person's influence online, and then significantly more flows into other efforts doing the same thing, the incentive structure becomes pretty clear. If your actual goal is neutralizing someone's reach, keeping them tangled up in an extradition process for years is honestly the most efficient tool available. No debates, no platform bans that get sidestepped within a week, no messy public back and forths, just silence. Clean, extended, court-enforced silence. Tate himself has made this argument directly and repeatedly. His point is simple. If he were truly the kind of predator he's being accused of being, British authorities wouldn't be tracking him across the globe to bring him in. He draws comparisons to grooming gang cases, to Prince Andrew, to certain BBC presenters, to people in Epstein's inner circle, people who, in his words, would have been shielded rather than chased. That's his framing, and whether you like him or can't stand him, it lands with a lot of people. That's worth acknowledging rather than dismissing.
Because when you put innocent men or any man in solitary confinement, at a certain period of time, they begin to deteriorate, they begin to decompensate, they begin to break down, and it's never, ever good. The process is the punishment. But we're going to do our best to get them out of solitary confinement. We're going to do our best to get them in front of the judge and make sure we have no doubts that this case will be handled here the right way. The other thing I'll say is the process is the punishment has always been one of our mottos. The other motto is less is more sometimes in life. And right now, it's less. They got a whole lot of nothing, and that means so much more for us. So we feel good about where we're at, and unless they can provide corroboration with all these allegations that they've accused Andrew and Tristan of, then what they really have at the end of the day is a big bag of nothing.
But here's the twist that changes the shape of this entire story. Every angle of this case keeps pulling in a new direction. On top of that, Tate has openly acknowledged that he had political friends and favors available to him. Looking at where things stand right now, it appears those favors have finally expired. Whatever protection he may have had in certain corners, it doesn't seem to be holding anymore. His broader theory about media coverage is also worth actually understanding, because it explains a lot of his public behavior over the years. The constant wave of articles labeling him toxic, dangerous to young men, a threat to society. Tate reads all of that as deliberate preparation, not organic opinion. His argument is that it was groundwork being laid years in advance, so that when the arrest finally came, and he points out that authorities clearly waited a long time before pulling the trigger, the public would already be conditioned to accept whatever charges got announced without asking questions, including the ones involving children. His claim is that years of negative press essentially pre-convicted him in the public mind before any evidence was ever heard in a courtroom.
A bad person and deserves jail. 1 week later, he was arrested. Was he charged with beating her up? No, that's on video. Wasn't charged with that. How did I know that was a setup? Because that video is 15 years old. Why would they hold on to a video for 15 years and never release it? No one ever saw it before. Then it pops up out of nowhere. Then he's arrested.
Whether you buy that argument or not, it's the lens through which his supporters interpret everything. And understanding that lens matters if you actually want to follow this story honestly rather than just picking a side and sticking to it. The final point his legal team wanted firmly on the record is about their travel history since being released from house arrest. Both brothers have moved freely around the world during this period, and every single time a scheduled court date came up, they showed up for it. No missed appearances, no disappearing acts, no skipping town. That's the pattern his lawyers want people paying attention to, and it's a detail that tends to get buried under the louder headlines. Neither of them missed a single hearing, not one. Every scheduled court appearance, both brothers showed up. So the argument their supporters keep pushing actually has some logic to it. Why would two people with a spotless attendance record at their own proceedings suddenly decide to run right now?
They have fulfilled the obligations at their judicial release in Romania to the letter of the law. They have never, ever missed a date. The agreement with Romania in the United Kingdom is for the United Kingdom to step back and let proceedings play out in Romania.
Wherever you personally fall on this case, one thing most people can agree on is this: nobody wants another Epstein situation. That outcome was a disaster, and it shook public trust in a way that still hasn't fully recovered. The good news, if you can even call it that, is the risk stays pretty low as long as both brothers remain in solitary. Yeah, those conditions are rough. Nobody's pretending otherwise. But right now, it's genuinely the safest place they can be. Think about what happens if they get moved into general population. The charges alone, specifically the ones involving children, would put massive targets on their backs the second word got around. And word always gets around inside.
And they're spending billions trying to deprogram men from my programming of go to the gym. Scary. While they let grooming gangs, while they let criminals steal, while they let murderers, while they let immigrants arrive, all the problems of that country, everyone's talking about me. What is my chance of a fair trial in the UK when the Prime Minister is saying I'm the biggest problem for the country? Zero.
On top of that, there's always somebody in there looking to make a name for themselves, and attacking someone the whole world knows is one fast way to do that. Even with two of them able to watch each other, the numbers just don't add up in their favor. It's a brutal reality, but it's the reality. Here's the part that really stands out though. The public support has basically disappeared. Back during the first arrest, it was a completely different scene. There were organized protests outside. People on multiple platforms were loudly questioning the process, calling out the way things were being handled, rallying behind the brothers in a way that was genuinely hard to ignore. It felt like a movement at the time. This time around, one guy, one man standing outside holding a sign. That was it. And even that got slapped with a community note on Twitter almost immediately. The contrast between those two moments tells you a lot about how the court of public opinion has shifted. Whatever sympathy existed before, most of it is gone now. And that silence from the crowd speaks louder than any protest sign ever could. That's the full picture as it stands right now. And honestly, this story is still moving. If you've got thoughts on any of this, drop them in the comments below, because this is exactly the kind of case worth talking about. If you found this video worth your time, hit that like button. It genuinely helps push this content to more people. And if you're not subscribed yet, now's a good time to change that. We cover stories like this all the time, and you don't want to miss what's coming next. See you in the next one.